Welcome to season 3 of Build and Grow Money Matters, a series dedicated to helping businesses go beyond financial management to achieve growth, resilience, and innovation. As businesses continue to revive and pivot to newer models in these times, Your Story is proud to partner with HSBC for another season of inspiring conversations, insights, and observations from some of the newest trendsetters in business and stalwarts of the ecosystem who are powering their next phase of growth and business continuity. Today, we have with us Manish Taneja, the co-founder and CEO of beauty e-tailer Purplle.com. Manish is an IIT Delhi alumnus and has a strong background in finance and having worked with Amandus Capital and Lehman Brothers before founding Purplle in 2012. Welcome, Manish. How are you?
Thanks, Vishal. Thanks for having me over. Absolutely pleasure to be here. I'm doing good. I think these are like little. I'm based in Mumbai. These are a little uncertain times in Maharashtra again. I think there's a near lockdownish kind of a situation here. So, playing it by the ear is how I would put it. But yeah, I mean, we have operations in many cities. So luckily, all the other 5 cities are okay.
It has been a very difficult time for all of us, but what played out was e-commerce phenomenally. I think a lot of people became first-time users of e-commerce also last year. I think you'd appreciate some words for the audience. I think would be appreciated because why did this happen? I mean, the pandemic's forced a new audience in it, or is it the same set of people ordering more? What was your experience like?
No, absolutely. I think pandemic forced a lot of people to come online for the first time, not just from a transaction point of view, but also from a payments point of view. I mean, I live in Mumbai. Many people would have used cash all the time, but now even a vegetable vendor accepts Paytm like a regular QR code scanning based payment method. So absolutely, I think lots of people have been added to the digital economy. I think they were forced to. There was no option. And I think once habits get built, people don't go back to the older ways of transacting. And so I think that's the reason. I think people just needed these products. They couldn't go out. They couldn't pay cash. They would have felt secured paying by digital payment methods. And, vendor or merchants agreed quickly. They went on board with digital payments. And so, things played out quite well. I would say like maybe 3-4 years got condensed into a few months.
That's very interesting. And no wonder you have, 7 million daily active users today.
That's 7 million monthly active users.
Monthly. Okay, pardon me. Monthly active users.
Yeah.
You've got 1,000 brands and 50,000 products.
Yeah.
And it's interesting when you spoke about a habit formation as an important key factor, because you're one of the early entrants in this 2012 when e-commerce itself was very new to this country. How would you split your journey in 3-4 parts?
I think I would say I would put it as broadly 3 parts. I think first 3, so we started in Jan of 2012. I think first 3 years were very formative types. We were figuring our stuff out. I had no background in business. I didn't know how to get a payment gateway approval. And I'm referring to 2011 when I was launching the website. So it wasn't as easy as it is today. So, I think first 3 years we were just figuring our stuff out, how to manage cash flows, how to manage P&L, how do you grow, how do you recruit. But I would say it was still largely driven by 3 or 4 people at the top. 3 are my co-founders and 1 more person. I think till December of 2015, we had just 1 person in our tech team, and that was our co-founder and CTO. Right? So it was a 1-person tech ship that was running. I think 2015, I think a significant event happened. I think we raised our Series A capital from Ivy Cap Ventures. That's when we started deploying significant, focus and capital into technology. What we built basically in the last, I would say in the last 6 years, is a very, very beautiful, what we call as data to supply engine, whereby we consolidate data from various sources. All this data comes in, I would say, not very easy to read form or not easy to make sense form. And then our algorithms work on top of it to make sense out of that unstructured data and gives us great recommendations. So I would say that work started to happen in 2015 and I think happened till 2018 or so. And I would say, I think 2019 was a pivotal year. We started focusing on our own brands, also because we had a lot of data and we used that data to build our own brands. And, end of 2019, we raised, significant amount of capital from Pearl Invest and Goldman Sachs. And I think that sort of put us into a new orbit altogether. And, I think we're still in that orbit. We have to get into the next orbit soon. But so I would say, yeah, I think between 2012 to 2015 was one phase. I think 2015 to 2017, 18 was another. And then 2019 has been like, and 20 have been like phenomenal years.
I'd agree with you. And when you were walking in the desert between 12 and 15, it must have been lot of challenges thrown at you. Must have been a very difficult time. And in several ways, when the pandemic hit, right? I mean, did those early years of hardship actually prepare you for the pandemic? What are some of the key leadership takeaways for you?
I wouldn't call that first 3 years were painful. I think once you are in it, you're in it. Like you
Yes,
don't think of pain or something. You think of waking up tomorrow morning and giving your best. So I don't think of entrepreneurship as anything more serious than that. I think it's like everyone comes to work every day, and so do we. I think we shouldn't fantasize it too much. Like I
absolutely.
think it's not that difficult. I think it's pretty easy. Most people should try it. I think coming to pandemic and how I think how we reacted. Look, so luckily we were sitting on 200 crores of capital when we went into pandemic. So we did two things very, very well in early days of pandemic. I would say first 2 months. First is we told all our employees that there will be no layoffs, no salary cuts. So everybody's nerves were calm because we were seeing layoffs happening elsewhere, and obviously different companies were in different situations. So we were in a very, very good situation. I think the second thing, our cost base was also not very high. So we were almost sitting on 100 months of capital, assuming there was no business broadly. So 8 years of capital, right? I think second, we started talking to our investors more proactively. So we started doing board meetings every 2 weeks, apprising them of the situation of what was happening on the ground and how were we faring and how our revenues were, starting to go up again, starting early May. So I think managing stakeholders was super important. We thought that the two most important stakeholders for our business were our employees and our investors. And so we were doing town halls every week. We were doing board meetings every 2 weeks. Sometimes there was nothing much to discuss in the board meeting, just that we say it's status quo. Whatever we said last 2 weeks ago is what we say. So I would say, we weren't too worried. There was some harakiri here, like you weren't sure what the rules were. So everybody was trying to figure out something or the other to do. But I would say at our hearts, I think we were pretty calm. We felt ki ye sab dekha hua hai 2-3 baar, so it's okay, like this too shall pass. And that's how it turned out to be. So, in fact, we started recruiting actively during early pandemic days. So, like, to be honest with you, like, I think 70% of our senior team was hired last year. So yeah, we've been aggressively recruiting. We are well positioned to, take advantage of whatever opportunities come our way. So, like, I would put it like, just be calm, like,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. So the key message would be perhaps communicate more,
absolutely,
make them
communicate.
feel safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Communicate as much as you can. I mean, I would say even better, I would say communicate more than you're required to.
Okay.
I think with each of your stakeholders, because they, you need to soothe everybody's nerves. And I think second, take advantage of the opportunity. If possible, if you're in a position where you can do that, I think absolutely.
Great. And one of the stakeholders would be the funds. I mean, obviously, you've been in the recent news of that 45 million fundraise from Sequoia, World Invest, Bloom, and
Yeah.
JSW Venture. How are you going to expand with this kind of money? I mean, you said you already had a runway of 8 years,
Yeah.
right, of capital.
Assuming no business.
No,
8 years.
assuming no business, that too.
Yeah.
So now that there is a lot of business, what are you
Yeah.
going to be expanding into? I
Yeah.
like the fact that you said you're going to do some, you're going to launch more private brands, maybe it's an opportunity. You're a data-led company, so you understand people's buying habits.
Yeah.
There's, some of that maybe would be interesting for our entrepreneurs to know. What would you
Sure.
invest your money in?
Sure. So look, I think, I think from a business expansion perspective, you can look at broadly three ways to expand. I think either you expand categories,
Yes.
or you expand channels, or you expand geographies. My sense is we would do all three, at varied intervals of time. So we've been expanding categories, going deeper and deeper into beauty and personal care and potentially wellness and healthcare space as well. I think that will continue to happen. It's par for the course for a company like us. We have very recently started, doing distribution in general trade. So basically started going offline. That's channel expansion strategy for us. I think the work has begun. We've hired some very good people, and hopefully we'll bear some fruits in next financial year. I think this year will be like a formative year for the business, for us to learn the business. And I think third, geographical expansion, absolutely. I think most likely sometime early next year, we should step our feet outside India, and mostly either on the eastern side or on the western side, both ways. I think we're evaluating our options, and I think we're trying to see how we can replicate the Purplle model in multiple geographies, and how can we replicate the Purplle model in multiple channels. I think that's how we are looking at it. Trying to build Purplle like an operating system where we run the same technology, we run the same logistics, we run the same customer support, we run the same data. Only few things change are sort of nuances about the channel or the category or the geographic location. But trying to see how we can automate a lot of our operating system where it becomes plug and play for us to play in categories or channels or geography.
That was exactly my next question. When you think like an operating system, you basically take the blueprint and scale it in new geographies. It's a
Absolutely.
plug and play. And I would love you to talk about that. Many entrepreneurs struggle to create that operating system. What are some of the tips that you give to create that operating system? Something that I want to understand, because you've expanded to Kolkata, Guwahati, you've got new fulfillment centers there. You're expanding, like you mentioned, growth's coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. So this operating system and the trends that your data is able to collect is what is going to, make Purplle a very valuable company in terms of sales, right? So what is this operating system?
Look, so an operating system is basically a platform kind of a play where you start offering your services to different customers. These could be internal customers or external customers at some point in time. So for example, we run 6 large fulfillment centers in India. We can actually offer them to any brand that wants to go regional into India. So basically we've made all the investment. Now either our own brands can use it, or third-party brands can use it, or any brand that we invest in can use it. It's basically plug and play. We started that experiment with one of the investments we did in a company called Carnegie. We acquired the brand in 2009 in 2020, and they went from one warehouse location to 6 locations in 30 days. And we've seen NPS of consumers improve. We've seen cost of logistics go down. We've seen timeline to deliver goods go down, so on and so forth. I think similarly, people can use our tech platform to sort of gather access to data, make sense of that data, and use it for their respective categories. Likewise, we run our own app and our own websites. Now that infrastructure can be replicated for any brand's website in any geography that you would want to run. So you need not use a Shopify if you are on one, and you can use our operating system because it's meant for beauty as a business and not just any other category. So look, I think that's how you build it. You build it with slightly longer term point of view. You build it with dedicated people who create this for internal customers as well as external customers. And then, you start rolling it out for a few people and see how it plays out.
So it's not over engineering, right, Manish? It's something where you look at the future, you experiment it by parts. Well, I mean, what it's some of the parts becomes the whole kind of thing. Is that how you look at it?
The way I look at it is, how do I convert my cost into revenue generators,
Okay.
right? So all these are my cost centers. If you look at fulfillment center, I run a large fulfillment center
Correct.
in Bhiwandi, in Mumbai, or Gurgaon, or Calcutta, or anywhere else. So, if I can offer the same services to more people, then I can actually make money out of it. And I am very, very, I can only do it for beauty customers, because my warehouse understands beauty better than any, I would say, 3PL warehouse would understand, and our cost structures are sort of something that work for beauty companies because we've built it for us. Similarly, our technology understands beauty as a business very, very well, much better than regular recommendation engines would understand. So I wouldn't say it's over engineering. I think you already have built it for yourself.
Okay.
You have to tweak it a little bit, productize it a little bit, so that, people can use it as a service. And, at least your internal customers find it very easy to use it. And then hopefully soon, and external customers will also
And
find
also
it
the
very easy.
brands, right? Like I said, if I'm a brand, I'm a new one, I want to go into the eastern parts of the country. All
Absolutely.
I say, can I use your fulfillment center in
Absolutely.
Calcutta
At
or
a
go
at
out from
a
there?
at a at a fraction of cost, you can use us. Absolutely, you can use us.
Phenomenal. So is that what scripted your growth from, say, 67 crore in 2018 to 450 crore recently? How did that happen? I mean, is it, let's talk about the consumer demand also, because
Yeah,
that's something that people would want to know, that the
sure.
nature of the Indian customer and the choice that he or she, or in this case, more the ladies, right? They get more choice. The categories are phenomenal. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. There was a time when people would have to go to a brick and mortar store to get international brands also, right? In your case, it's everything in one place.
I think you focus on your strengths,
Yes.
and that's what we've done. So the business is broadly, has three pillars. One is our focus on technology and productizing everything we do. I mentioned to you something called data to supply,
Yes.
D2S, which basically has been fueling our growth. It basically provides excellent quality information that we can use and power our business, both from supply side point of view and demand side point of view. I think second part has been our focus on content. So we've been champions of vernacular content in India. Starting 2017, we started producing content on YouTube in 8 different languages. So we went, Hindi became 70% of our content. English was like small 5% of our content, but we went in Hindi, Gujarati, Bengali, four southern languages, and English.
Nice.
I had a very firm belief that, this is how India consumes content. Very few people in India are very, very comfortable with consuming content in English. So, so I think content was a big play. It's been playing out ever since. Of course, you hit a certain peak, and at that point in time, you have to look for different levers of growth. So very, very early this year, which is January, we signed Sara Ali Khan as our brand ambassador.
Nice.
We went on TV, we saw an amazing response to our ads, and we could grow by 100% in February 21 over 20. So to grow at our scale at 100% year on year is not an easy task, but at least that's the miles, that's the target that we've kept for ourselves. We would love to grow at between 80 and 100% year on year. And I would say last, I think, our focus on unique supply, partly powered by our own brands, and partly powered by new indie brands, as I call them, is, I think, a massive source of success. So we've been big partners of Wow, we've been big partners of Mamaearth, and, all the new age brands. I would say, they've been nice to us, and, hopefully we've been nice to them as well. So broadly, three areas, I would say. One is focus on technology. I think second is focus on content and marketing. Making sure that we do it very, very effectively. And now on TV as well. And last, I would say, is focus on supply, both our own brands as well as the indie brands. So that's how we've grown. It's the same playbook that hopefully we can replicate in many countries, going forward. But that's been the way we've grown, and I think this should continue to grow.
Okay.
If we can focus on what we've been doing.
And what about the consumer side? It's going to keep
Yeah.
growing, no?
Yeah, look, so we acquired, I think, 11 lakh new customers in FY21. We will acquire, I think, 17, 18 lakh new customers in FY22. So, and then once you acquire a certain number of consumers, a certain percentage of them keep repeating with you, that becomes your base. And so look, I don't think new customer acquisition should be a challenge. I think we all need to keep building moats around our business so
Yeah.
that people stay with us and it's not a leaky bucket. That's, I would say, is a bigger part to focus on. I think e-commerce landscape in India is very big. I'm only acquiring a fraction of those, so I'm not too worried about, like.
Manish, I'm going to throw in some futuristic question because I've been covering retail for 20 years, and I see a lot of the young brands launch their own Shopify accounts, or
Yeah.
it's an open API world. So perhaps the customers visit the brand, and then because it's an open API world, the settlement happens on a Purplle, and the fulfillment happens on a Purplle. Is that world possible?
I think there are all kinds of user journeys that are possible. I think some consumers like buying from the brand's website
Okay.
because for some reason, maybe they think it's more trustworthy.
Okay.
Maybe there is, a higher level of comfort. If you are looking to buy only one brand, there is a chance that you can actually go to a brand's website and buy.
Correct.
But if your
Correct.
cart has multiple brands, which is how usual, I would say 80,
Yes.
90% of the carts would be, then of course, you will discover the brand on a brand's website, or you could actually discover the brand on a retailer. I mean, like,
Yeah.
if you look at it, right, I think it's well known in India. I think Wow grew on Amazon initially.
Yes.
I've seen a bunch of brands grow on Purplle, including Good Vibes. As I said, it's one of our own brands. So I think, I think there are all kinds of user journeys. I think today, this is my view because I speak to about 30, 40 consumers every month on a similar Zoom call as we are right now on. I feel that retailers are very trusted. I think
Yes.
brands are also trusted. So I think both journeys will keep happening. I don't see one sort of happening more than the other.
Okay. People would also want to know, should a e-commerce retailer also set up their own experience offline store or brick and mortar store? Do you think it's an efficient strategy for India's growing consumer needs? Would you do the same? Do you have those
So
thoughts?
look, I'll tell you how I look at it, and I don't have a one size fits all answer. The way we look at Purplle is we like to do experiments and try to productize those experiments, have learnings, and then try and see if it works for us or not. I think offline works for a few people. We would love to try it. So most likely, sometime in 2021 or 2022, you will see our stores coming up. Will it work for us? I don't know. I think it depends on the quality of how you run the experiment and also maybe, a lot of external circumstances. Like what if, we just open our stores and pandemic hits us? I'm sure it will not work. So look, I think my advice to anyone who's watching your show is, try out every experiment if it's within your reach. I think it works for a lot of categories. I have certain theses there. And my thesis is that if you have a big box store where a consumer can come to your store and find everything that they need, then you definitely have a big play. And if you have a lot of exclusive brands or an exclusive supply, you should definitely do it. So I'll give you some examples. I think
Yes,
H&M
please.
does really well in India. Uniqlo does really well in India.
Yes.
Zara does really well in India. Westside does really well in India. Lifestyle does really well in India. So if you look at all the big box fashion retailers, they all do very well. I mean, if you look at market cap of Westside, which is a company called Trend, it's 27,000 crores. So it's at 4 billion market cap silently. Nobody knows about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think offline works. I mean, it works. I remember, I think a year ago, it was 17,000 crores market cap. So I think this is my thinking. I don't know if other people agree, disagree with it, but I'll give you more examples. Decathlon works in India. IKEA works in
Agreed.
India,
Agreed.
right? So I think if you have a thesis where a consumer comes and they can spend 2 hours in my store, and then they will end up buying something or the other for sure. So that's my thesis around offline. I hope it turns out to be true, but we'll wait and watch how our experiment goes.
I want to talk about health and beauty as a category, health and wellness as a category, pardon me.
Sure.
In the pandemic, that's become a habit too, right? These sanitizers, I mean, and most of them
Absolutely.
bought sanitizers for the first
Yeah.
time. Do you see health and wellness becoming some part of your category, or is it already a big category for Purplle?
Look, I wouldn't say it's a big category for us. I would say less than 10% of our revenue comes from health and wellness. I think, will it become a largish category? I think yes. But look, I think even 10% of our revenue is a decent sized business. So I think what benefited even more from COVID, or maybe I shouldn't say even more, but I think it's still significantly benefited is because everyone was at home, you had a lot of time at your hand. And so, I think skincare benefited a lot. I would say hair care benefited a lot because people
Yeah.
just started taking more care of their skin and their hair. And I would say that also equally benefited. I mean, of course, health and wellness benefited. Of course, sanitizers, flew off the
Yeah.
shelf.
A lot of
Uh,
people wanted supplements,
yeah.
health supplements, all that took off.
Look, I think it's still a small business in India. Like like the capsules and tablets business is still a small business in India. I think we like to rely more on natural sources of immunity. So obviously I saw a lot of people buying amla or Indian
Yes.
gooseberry as it's called in English. And trying to consume that a lot. I saw sales of lemon go up because people thought it was a great source of vitamin C. Of course, people started buying vitamin C tablets, but I think that's still very small. I would say immunity boosters or health boosters, I think it's still a small segment and, has a long way to go.
Okay, great. Now let's get into the question because it's a show on money and it's called Money Matters. We'll have to get into the banking questions and investment
Sure.
questions. The questions about how do you manage your own risks and investments? What do you think about automation and risk management features in your financial decisions?
Personally, I am like 99% of my wealth is in purple. So I play very risky. I don't get time to do anything else.
Correct.
So, I think if somebody else can take care of, just managing the wealth, I mean, like, it's not a good thing to say, but I would say that, I don't take care of my wealth very well. I think this uh,
Yeah.
99% or 99.9% of that is in purple. Um, I also don't angel invest or anything like,
Yeah.
because I don't get time. I can't give time to people.
Yeah.
So whatever I earn every year, I try and reinvest in Purple. So a part of my salary or compensation gets reinvested into Purple. It's also a stock that I know has been appreciating at 100% year on year, so I don't mind doing it. Look, how do we do it for at a company level? I think, of course, there are very, very good risk management practices
Yes.
deployed. But I think definitely, I think a product or I think a software product which sort of gives you an overview of things, I think which helps you automate a lot of decisions, I think would be super welcome. I mean, I think we all love software products that make our lives easier. And I
Why
think
not?
thanks to COVID, like I'm assuming SaaS sales would have gone through the roof as well.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely most welcome if somebody can, give you a glimpse and, you can make decisions in like 5-10 minutes. I think absolutely it'll be super welcome.
So, as an entrepreneur, what are your expectations from lenders and banks for business?
Look, I think it's an interesting thing. I think lenders don't lend to you if you're small. Uh, they are very risk averse, most of them, unless you try and give personal guarantees or your personal credibility is very high. So I would say, I think we had hard time, getting loans. I would say till 2019. Um, Ever since we've raised this kind of capital from World Invest and Goldman and now Sequoia, of course, like every lender wants to work with us. I think apart from the regulatory stuff that they go through, I would say, just be a little nicer to startups, like take a little bit more risk. Start small, even if a 1 or 2 crore loan can change
Correct.
somebody's life. I would say just, like if you could, really take a little bit of that equity kind of risk, if possible, even if it comes at a slightly higher interest rate, I think many entrepreneurs would love if you could
Take
lend
it.
to them. I've personally borrowed money at very, very high interest rates when we were small. I'm sure banks would charge less than half of what I borrowed at. So, I'll be really, I think my personal wish from banks would be, I think, take small risks with companies. And if you think it's working out well, then, keep increasing your risk limit. Startups can't take very large capital. And, also it's not worth the risk for a bank.
Okay. This is an interesting point. Like you mentioned, data to supply.
Hmm.
Perhaps that kind of an operating system for banks would be great. Understand the entrepreneur and,
Yeah,
the data to supply operating system works in this case too. And I'm sure a lot of
absolutely.
entrepreneurs would appreciate a bank's help. So,
Yeah.
so this is my final question, and I have to ask you this. You spoke about money. You're not an angel investor. 99% of your time is invested with Purple, which and rightly so. It's a stock growing at over 100%, like you mentioned. Why not be invested in it? Personally, what is your relationship with money like? You've been in the financial world before Purple,
Yeah.
right? how do you handle it in a personal capacity? In a sense, like you mentioned, you can't invest anywhere, but how do you handle it with a bank, or how do you make it grow? Do you have banks or bankers working for you, coming to you personally?
Look, so I grew up in a lower middle class background. So I think I would say first few lakhs were very important in life because it gave you stability, it gave you some comfort that you don't have to, you have a roof on your head, and you don't have, you can take care of your family and your kids and all. I think after that, I think money has to be thought through really, really well, and the importance of money. In my view, I think I have decent sized philanthropic ambitions as I grow older in life. So I want to see how the money that I have, or whatever money that I will have, can generate enough returns that I can fund a lot of things. That's what I use it for. Personally, it is of not much use beyond a point. So I think once you earn your first 2, 3, 4 crores, I think money starts to lose significance from a personal point of view. I think you need to use money to fuel your ambitions, whether professional or on the philanthropic side. That's how I see it. I don't take it personal. If it's there today and it's not there tomorrow, it's fine. That's how I see it. Like I don't think much about it. I think I use it to fuel my dreams. I use it to fuel my ambitions. I think as you become richer in life, I think I hope so, but I hope for most people this is true, but I think your ability to take risks goes up. So you can slog harder. You can play like a Sehwag and not like a Dravid all the time.
Yeah.
And, I hope that that stays true for me. And I hope I am able to, take bigger risks, that move the needle from a impact point of view, that move the needle from an impact point of view, both professionally as well as on the philanthropic side.
No, I mean, this is a phenomenal answer, and I'm sure for interest of your team, you've got what, more than 200 people working for you. How many people
Yeah, we have
work?
about 1,000 people
1,000
dedicatedly
people.
working
Okay.
for us, and about 700, 800 more people, working in factories that make
Okay.
goods for us.
No, no wonder you're a man of values, and I wish you all the best in your journey with money, right? And I wish you all the best, more so in the impact that you made for a business that's been around for 9 years, one of the early e-commerce startups in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Manish Taneja, the co-founder and CEO of Purplle.com. Thank you so much, Manish, for being on Your Stories Build and Grow Money Matters. Thank you.
Thanks, Vishal. Pleasure being here.